Folks that were not around to see the attraction era of Rainbow Springs really have no way of understanding just how beautiful the springs were back in the day when it was an attraction. This is the fountain that was at the entryway. It's a really beautiful picture, and it was really fantastic. It has shrubbery in it now, and it's not to throw shade on the state park. We're thankful to have them, but they don't have the resources of Mr. Bernanke, who owned the attraction and had this part of it. We're currently in the process of doing the research and creating a short documentary about the boat captains of Rainbow Springs. Captain Dave Edwards ran the glass bottom boat, the original Rainbow Queen, and the sternwheeler, two-story sternwheeler. Captain John Hannibal and Skipper Lockett did the underwater boats. Now, what we ran into in the research is I'm going to tell a little story. It's a little bit personal, and was looking through the advertisements of the Rainbow Springs attraction this morning. I was a little bit shocked. I found my late brother is in the picture on the sternwheel boat, and I thought I would share a story about my late brother. It was really important in the history of Rainbow Springs. My late brother was a lifeguard there in the 1960s, and he had a family visit. They'd come up from Tampa, St. Pete area, spend the day. The kids were swimming. My brother Danny was a lifeguard. He was visiting the father. The father happened to be in a state of unemployment. He had lost his job. He was an executive. While he had time in his state of unemployment, he'd come to visit Rainbow Springs. As he shared his experience with my brother Danny, they had limited funds. He was unemployed, and Danny was receptive. Danny was a very kind person. So Danny did him two separate important favors. Danny took him up the hill and introduced him to the park manager at the time, and ultimately was able to get him in touch with the owners of Rainbow Springs. And so that gentleman went on to become superintendent of Rainbow Springs for about 5 years. In the interim, before Mr. Bernanke, who had earned his money selling S&H green stamps, bought in new folks to run it. Danny, and this is actually a story was shared by the man's family. Later on, I was unaware of this. At the time, the springs served as a wishing well. Tourists would take and throw a penny or a quarter in and make a wish and throw it right into the springs. So Danny, as the lifeguard, and realizing the folks were low on funds, took his lunch break diving in the spring and dug up a bowl full of change, enough change where the folks could make the return trip the next day to come up and interview as park superintendent. So my brother Danny not only introduced them to the right people to get the job, he dove enough change out of the spring on his lunch break to enable them to have gas money to return the next day. This is anecdote shared with me from the son, the young man that was there when his dad interviewed for the job. And so it's just a fascinating anecdote of Rainbow Springs and how things were back in the day. I had not really intended on telling that story until I was shocked to find my brother on the sternwheel paddle boat in the advertisement photo. So that's just one of the many, many stories we have at Rainbow Springs we hope to share. But we're going to follow up with what we started on, the boat captains of Rainbow Springs, the underwater boats, the Rainbow Queen glass bottom boat, and the sternwheeler Rainbow Queen that followed later on in the late 60s and early 70s. Rainbow Springs, fantastic place. Still a nice place, but it can never again be what it was during the attraction era.